Yeah, he gave me a thumbs up. Okay, we're going to call our regular council meeting for Monday, March 13th to order. We'll stand for the pledge and remain standing for a moment of silence, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Mr. Thomas, roll call, please.
Certainly. Mr. Delaney?
Here.
Mr. Dern?
Here.
Mr. Doyle?
Here.
Mr. Hadley?
Here.
Mr. Seitz?
Here.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Mr. Vento?
Here.
Mayor Schlegel?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. I entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report for the month of February 2023.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Dern, seconded by Mr. Hadley. All in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Also entertain a motion to approve the expenses for the month of February 2023.
So moved. Second it.
Motion by Mr. Dern, seconded by Mr. Taylor. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the minutes of the February 13th, 2023 council meeting. Motion by Mr. Taylor, second by Mr. Vento. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen, for that. Recognition of achievements in the community. Mr. Mayor?
Unfortunately, at this time, I have none. Thank you.
Thank you. Civic announcements. Who would like to go first?
Hi, I'm Pam from the library. I just want to let you all know we are having our spring book sale, even though it's snowing outside, on Saturday, March 25th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the library. $10 for a bag of books. Can't beat it. Best deal in town. All the proceeds benefit the library. If anyone's interested in donating books, we're accepting 2 boxes per person anytime now leading up to the sale. So we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Any other civic announcements this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along the agenda to President's comments. Other than to wish everybody a safe and happy St. Patrick's Day this month, I have nothing else. Citizens' comments on, on agenda. Wait a minute, I'm sorry, forgive me. Yes, citizens' comments on agenda items. Okay, I got confused there, sorry about that. Mr. Dell? Yes, sir.
Well, first, what a fantastic building. You guys really are proud. Thank you, Mr. Myers.
Yeah.
You and your staff have done an awesome job.
Thank you.
Just a comment on motion number 6. I did a application, I think it's about a week or so ago, regarding April 5th, to host a meet and greet. So I don't know what the new rental policy is. But at the time I did the application, the assistant borough manager said, I'm approved, here's the rates. Make your payment April 1st online. So I don't know what the borough has done regarding, or council has done regarding the policy. If we can still have our event April 5th, or if political groups are excluded from using the gym.
I would just like to clarify, did you mean banquet hall or gym?
The gym.
Oh, well, the banquet hall, the gym isn't available for rental for anything other than sporting events.
Okay, then it must be the banquet hall.
Banquet hall.
Okay. Who wants to field this one?
So I
Mr.
can
Seitz?
explain. So we had some discussion about this, well, last week and this week. And it's not political groups that are going to be, well, so first of all, the policy wasn't approved when
Right.
you got the rental fee. So that was,
the policy.
yeah, so that was an error on the borough's part. They actually rent it because the policy wasn't approved. The policy is not going to be to not rent it to political groups. It's going to be, we don't want public political events, such as like candidates, like rallies or rallies for anybody. So if your group wants to come in and use the facility for a meeting or a Christmas party or whatever your group wants to do, you can do that. But we're not going to make the facility available for like events that are open to the public for them to come in some sort of political rally or demonstration or anything like that. That's the distinction.
Right, so our group was going to host a meet and greet for all candidates running this 2023. That would have been Republican, Democrat, Independents, and open to the public. So it was a
Right.
free event.
Right.
And we were catering it and hosting it. So was that excluded?
Yeah, because it's not really that it's, I understand it's nonpartisan, but it's a political event open to the public. And that's what we don't really want up here because of
I mean, that is
for several
that's
reasons.
disappointing because Murraysville and Monroeville don't have that policy. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Good, thank you, Mr. Dell. Those are these, right? Okay. Okay, moving along, on behalf of the Planning and Economic Development Committee, Mr. Delaney.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Planning and Economic Development Committee, I move to approve the Robinson Consolidation Plan FSC-01-23 as recommended by the Borough Engineer.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Delaney, seconded by Mr. Vento. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Delaney. On behalf of the Personnel and Management Committee, Mr. Hadley.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Personnel and Management Committee, I move to approve a cost of living increase for a retired police officer as recommended by the Borough Actuary.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Hadley, seconded by Mr. Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
On behalf of the Personnel and Management Committee, I move to appoint Nicole Larisha to the position of Executive Administrative Assistant effective March 20th, 2023 at a salary of $48,500.
Motion by Mr. Hadley, second by Mr. Dern. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Welcome aboard. On behalf of the Personnel and Management Committee, I move to appoint Danielle Fusco to the position of Executive Administrative Assistant Police effective March 20th, 2023 at a salary of $48,500.
Motion by Mr. Hadley, second by Mr. Dern. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
I would just like to point out that both Ms. Fusco and Ms. Larisha are in the audience.
Thanks for coming tonight.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome to the team.
And finally, on behalf of the Personnel and Management Committee, I move to table item number 5.
And we need a motion in a second to vote on that, right? All right, motion by Mr. Hadley. Second by Mr. Dern. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Hadley.
And that is it.
On behalf of the Parks and Recreation Committee, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Parks and Recreation Committee, I move to approve the municipal center rental policy as presented.
We have a motion by Mr. Taylor.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Hadley. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And that takes care of council actions for the evening. Moving along to everybody's favorite, the mayor's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. In February, our officers responded to 825 calls, and that's a 2% increase over January. And again, thoughtful citizens. Michael Sorniglia from Michael's Painting, he's done this for years, delivered donuts and cookies from Oakmont Bakery to show his appreciation for the department. Obviously, they don't consider me part of that department because I, again, did not get an invite. And the students from Divine Mercy Academy provided handmade gifts to show their appreciation for the officers, and the crafts are proudly displayed downstairs in the department. And Stan Kazmarski delivered 4 dozen cookies from Oakmont Bakery in appreciation of the officer's service. I'm going to read, we normally do this, but I'm going to read an excerpt from a letter our chief received regarding, can't call her patrolman, it's Officer Tristo Iacchini. On 5 October 22, Patrolman Tristo Iacchini and her partner, a name I did not get, responded to a call at my residence from a person in crisis. I was that person. I had decided to end my life that day by suicide with a gun. At approximately 1 p.m. that day, Patrolwoman Iacchini, partner, was the first to respond to the scene. He stood off to the side of the front door as I assumed your training dictates. I unsecured the door and instructed the officer not to enter the home at that moment. I explained through the door where the weapon was and then promptly laid on the floor, face down in a non-threatening position. Then when he felt safe, he entered the home and secured a weapon. I would remain in place until he took control of the scene and waiting his orders. Shortly after Patrolman Iacchini's partner took control of the scene, I met Patrolman Iacchini, Patrolwoman Iacchini, for the first time. She was kind and gentle with me as soon as she met me. She instructed me to sit on the couch. She took into consideration what was happening and addressed me, not as a threat, but as a person in crisis. She was extremely instrumental with getting me the assistance I so desperately needed. Both officers, along with Plum Boro EMS, escorted me to Forbes Hospital for the beginning of my treatment. These are some of the things that our first responders encounter. And again, it's the professionalism of that department, and I believe that's the reason a lot of our citizens provide them with various tokens to say thank you. I will also note that Officer Iacchini responded to another call, and not only did she, while they were working the situation through, being a mother herself, she sat there and fed the two-year-old child of the family that was in crisis there. I can't say enough about our police department and Crystal in particular. We recognized her in the past, but again, it's the professionalism and the compassion that our officers show. And the new officers, those who have come from the city of Pittsburgh, will attest that Plum is totally different than where they patrolled before. Here, they get cookies, sweets, and down on the north side, they had rocks and bottles thrown at them. Again, I compliment the police, but I also compliment our residents here in Plum. And that's really all I have tonight, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving along to committee reports. Did we have an intergovernmental cooperative committee meeting? Got canceled? Okay, no problem. Finance committee, Mr. Seitz.
Thank you. So the borough recognized revenues totaling $1 million and incurred expenditures in the amount of $1.3 million. 2 months into the year, we're still on budget, not surprising. Myra Dussel, our independent auditor, will be forwarding a draft of the 2022 audit report. The finance director will review the report for correctness and forward any recommendations and revisions back to the auditor. The borough's tax anticipation note totaling $1.5 million. We haven't drawn any funds on that, and we don't expect to during the 2023 budget year. And finally, the borough added 2 more PLGIT investment options or investment accounts to capture interest income for the fire and street improvement. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Seitz. Roads, Equipment, and Grounds, Mr. Bento.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dairy Construction was awarded a 2023 paving contract and will begin work later in the summer after the stormwater work has been completed. Camera inspections of the pipes pertaining to the 2023 paving project were conducted. All inlets and pipes will be repaired or replaced before the paving begins. A stormwater system was installed at Renton Park to accommodate improvements during Phase 3 of the renovation project. The stream bank stabilization at Plum Creek Park near Pavilion 3 was completed. Preventative maintenance and state inspections were performed on 13 pieces of equipment and trucks, 3 administrative vehicles, and 13 police fleet vehicles. PennDOT has notified the borough that they will be performing landslide repair work along Milltown Road in 3 separate areas. There will be a detour around the work zone as PennDOT completes one project at a time. Work is expected to begin in June and be completed by September. There will be lane shifts on state-owned Greensburg Road, Route 366, near Lincoln Beach Drive in Plum Boro, and it will start at 9 a.m. on Monday, March 13th, 2023. The lane shifts are expected to end in December 2023. During the project, traffic in both lanes on Greensburg Road will be maintained, but moved, and lane widths will be reduced. A temporary bridge over Puckett Creek will be constructed to maintain Lincoln Beach Drive traffic between Plum Boro and the Upper Borough Township. Drivers are encouraged to use caution in that area. And lastly, that was just told to me earlier before we came out, there's a link now on our borough website for anybody in the borough to participate in the borough cleanup on April 22nd. And everyone, groups, individuals, anybody that's interested in helping clean up the streets and the sides of the roads that day for our community to sign up. Please, I'd like to see some participation from the residents, be great. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Vento. Public Safety, Mr. Dern.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. Quick update on the Stormwater Task Force. Center Beach project, the final design is completed and has been submitted to the DEP for the permitting review. This project will also include a dam permit, and that also goes through the PA-DEP, and these permit reviews can go simultaneously. The O-Block Pond project, the solicitor's office was able to get the ownership issue taken care of, and that's moving forward. And now the property is no longer the control of the borough, and the engineer is able to submit the completed permit application to the DEP. And Mr. Maloney, you want to come up and give the EMS report, please?
All right, thank you. Brian Maloney, Director of Operations, Plum EMS. Sorry about my voice, but this is actually a lot better than what it was. But for the month of February, we ran a total of 232 calls. We ended up transporting 144 of those patients. We ended up responding to neighboring communities 13 times. 7 of those resulted in the transport to the hospital. Now, of all the times that EMS was needed in Plum, we ended up having mutual aid agencies help us out 11 times throughout the month. That was 4.9%. So we had a relatively busy month for that. Well, along with running emergency calls throughout the month, we are actually in the process of conducting our annual AED checks. And all the AEDs that we kind of help coordinate throughout the borough, and there's over 30 of those. I think the borough itself, there's 20 between you and the police, and we actually do a very in-depth check, breaking down the equipment, double checking everything. But we also help a number of different organizations throughout the community too that have reached out to us. Basically, it's their AEDs, but we help coordinate. Plus, we try to get package deals to get discounted prices, so that goes out very well. We ended up doing a total of 4 separate CPR and AED trainings throughout the month, and I strongly encourage folks to do that. We also have monthly CPR and AED trainings that, as a subscriber to Plum EMS, you get 2 of those free every year. And traditionally, we charge $40 for that, and so that's a huge savings, but that's our way of really trying to push folks to end up taking that training. We also ended up doing some car seat safety checks throughout the month, and that's a program. We just sent another one of our employees to become a technician on that too. And it's interesting that y'all mentioned Officer Crystal Iacini's name because we do satisfaction surveys on 100% of the patient contacts we have. Whether it's a refusal, a lift assist, a transport, you get a postcard from me saying, hey, please go on our website, or Facebook, fill out a satisfaction survey. And in one of the surveys, and that was probably the one that you were referring to, Mayor, it actually talked about Officer Crystal, about how she stepped out. And it might have been that same call where a lot was going on and there was a little kid involved, and she really stepped up to help that child in the midst of everything else and the medical emergency that was happening. That is just a snapshot of the Plum Police Department. These are some of the best people I've ever worked with throughout my career in EMS. They're extremely aggressive on calls. They're great to work with. And I mean, I can easily text Lanny and he gets back to me. I mean, it's a very good group that you have here. So I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of it. And any questions, comments, finger gestures?
I have a question.
Yes.
So the AED and CPR training is posted on your website?
Yes.
So when's the next one?
We got one this week, and it's the 3rd Thursday of every month. And so traditionally we try to host it at our station, but if we get too many people, we kind of try to see if we can do it somewhere here. We've also held it at Holiday Park Fire Department before, or different places that have a little bit more space. But it's a good experience, and I strongly encourage everyone to participate in something like that.
Right, I have a question that just popped into my head. You said that, only 4.9% of the time you needed help from other communities. Could you just tell the people why at that point you would need help, what your people were doing, or weren't available to do the borough stuff, just to let we know here, but the people that might be listening to this.
That's not a problem. Basically, we have a system in place that when you pick up the phone and dial 911 and you need an ambulance, you will get EMS. Now, in Plum, throughout the day, like Monday through Friday, during business hours, we can staff up to 3 trucks, all at advanced life support levels. And that third truck is basically like a management or admin truck. The thing is, there are times that we're going to exhaust all our resources, but we still want that when you call 911, you get an ambulance. So that's when we have our mutual aid, our neighboring agencies come into Plum to help us, to make sure that you have that resource there if you need it. And so, we're very lucky. Typically around 3% is our average of turning calls over, because the crews hustle at the hospitals. They transfer care, they get their truck back in service, and they try to get back into Plum as quickly as possible to always be there for the community. But we try to always have that backup plan. We actually have it down to 7 agencies. And so if our first agency that we need help from, if they're busy, we go to number 2, and so forth, all the way down to 7 separate different agencies that will always back us up if needed. So it's a plan that we have in place for the community to make sure we get you taken care of.
And you do the same thing for other agencies?
Yeah, and that's why, like last month, we ended up responding 13 times. That's actually an extremely low number compared to previous months, but it's called mutual aid agreements. We're there for them, and they're there for us as well. So I don't know if they're going to be as good looking as us, but we'll make that. I'm sure they'll take good care of you.
Thanks.
Ryan, just a comment. We talked about the police department. One of the nice things here in Plum, which is, I hope it isn't rare, but we have, between all of our first responders, your people are professional and kind, and that's a big thing. Our firemen, volunteers, and they're professional, and they spend a great deal of time. And you heard me talk about our police department. So being mayor, I get a lot of positive comments coming back, and I'm sure this council, we really appreciate the time that your staff, the police department, and as importantly, the volunteers who give a heck of a lot of time do for this community. So take that back and let them know that we all appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll say that, working together is what makes it such a great success. And one of my favorite things to do each month is look at those satisfaction surveys. I skip the 1 through 5, rate us unless it's really bad kind of thing. But I love the fact that people put their comments. And I post all our surveys, good, bad, and between. There's not many bad, but that is one of the things that crew members appreciate so much, to see what kind of effect that they've had or impact on patients and their families. So it goes a long way, it really does, and especially when they realize what they do has a meaning. Because sometimes after so many years, it kind of runs thin, but Plum is a great place, so thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. One last thing, just remember these Fridays, the fish fries are going on at Holiday Park, Brenton, and Logan's Ferry. And if you haven't tried them, get out and try them. I've tried all 3, and they're top notch. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dern. Moving along, the Planning and Economic Development Committee, Mr. Delaney.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the Planning and Economic Development Committee report, the Planning Department issued 109 permits in February. The Zoning Hearing Board met in February to accept the resignation of Zoning Hearing Board Solicitor Warner Marini and deport the law firm Tucker Arnsberg as solicitor. Staff attended hearings at the magistrate for 2 locations regarding 1, a zoning use violation, and 2, junk and debris. In addition to continually updating the GIS map, staff performed a site inspection to verify zoning compliance, met with a resident to discuss an open violation, met with a commercial property owner to discuss signage, and attended a virtual training. Code enforcement completed 121 residential and apartment occupancy inspections and addressed 11 complaints in February. Additional sign removal was conducted, and a code enforcement officer responded to a fire call on Miller's Lane. That would be all, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Delaney. Parks and Recreation, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you all may know, that the upcoming baseball season's coming, and local business sponsorship banners were installed on the field fences at the PBSA fields for the upcoming season. Concession stands were also repainted. Fencing was installed and repaired at Larry Mills Park, Renton Ball Field, Logan's Ferry Park, and Plum Creek Park. Here at the Municipal Center, a new 26-foot aluminum railing was fabricated in-house and installed along the front area beyond the patio. The in-house construction and insulation provided considerable cost savings in comparison to hiring an outside firm. The DPW personnel helped to coordinate and set up the facility in preparation for the Allegheny County special election on February 7th. All furniture from the old borough building has been reviewed for damage, garbage, and reorganized into 2 rooms. Some local groups have been interested in the furniture and have made donations to the borough's Angel Fund in return for taking some of the items. The 2023 Borough Haps calendar has been made public. Upcoming events include coffee with the mayor and manager on Saturday, March 18th in the banquet hall. The annual Kids Trout Fishing event on Saturday, April 1st at Plum Creek Park, which is also, just so everybody knows, the first day of trout season, I believe. And by chance, Mike, by chance, do you know, are they going to have food trucks here down there for that?
For the
Fishing?
For the fishing, no, because it's so early in the morning.
Okay. The Easter extravaganza on Saturday, April 8th, here at the Municipal Complex. And also keep an eye on social media and the borough website for information and registration for all these events. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Citizens' comments on non-agenda items. Nobody signed up, but that's not going to preclude anybody from coming up. Yes, sir. You've got to state your name and your address?
Yes. My name's Don Ziegler. I live at 40 Crystal Drive.
Use the microphone.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
good. What's that? How's that? No? Is that better?
There you go.
Oh, okay, sorry. Hey, thanks so much. My name's Don Ziegler. I live at 40 Crystal Drive, and I appreciate lady and gentlemen, listening to citizens' comments. My concern is Pinnacle has requested a permit from the DEP for a waste transfer station at their Sadat well site. And we're opposed to that because we're concerned about the environment, the water quality, and road situation and traffic. And we've really canvassed kind of the neighborhood. We've been to a community off of Kerr Road, Dinwiddie, that goes up there, and we've got comments from some of the residents there about all the traffic that has been bothering them and the damage to the roads from the Midas well pad there on Coxcomb Hill. And we also have worked with the Oakmont Water Authority, Jack Dunlap. He gave us permission to test the water inlet there to see if there are any chemicals from the fracking process that have come into the water supply. And the good news is Dr. John Stoltz tested that for us from Duquesne University. And the good news is there was no evidence at this point of any, any of the PFAS and other chemicals from the fracking process. So we're really blessed to have a good source of water, and we really want to keep it that way because there might be short-term benefits from the fracking that last maybe 10 years or so, with employment and so forth. But once the water supply is damaged, that's forever. And that affects our future generations. And so we're very concerned about that. My wife used to work for the water company when she was first out of college in Oakmont. And so she's very concerned because, again, once this gets in the water supply, that's it. So would really like your help in the future in support of this cause. I'm working very closely with the DEP and have met with them We have Penteco's application for the permit, and it shows all of their comments. And in working with the DEP, this is kind of a new thing. They've given us the opportunity on the front end, before they actually approve or disapprove the permit, to provide citizens' comments. This has not been done before. Usually citizens comment after the fact. And so the DEP's been very gracious to let us do that. And we have the ability to provide comments. Actually, a week from tomorrow is our deadline. So whatever you can do in the future supporting this, and if anyone has comments relative to that, that would be very helpful, and I can include it in the comments from citizens. And trying to see, oh, you have such a beautiful borough. You know, I mean, there are so many nice things, and driving over here, it's such a pleasure to see, you know, and it'd be nice to keep it that way, you know. And so if we could just be mindful of that in the future, and that's really what I have to say. And so I don't know if anyone has comments that I might be able to use or whatever. That would be helpful, but I'd understand if you don't have any public comments.
Thank you, Mr. Ziegler.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
I'd like to just say something. We were concerned about the transfer station, about the size of the tanks put in there, if you guys will remember. At least initially we had talks with Dave about it and everything. And I don't know what has anything gone on with the we were worried about containment ponds and size and the tanks that were proposed to go up there. Where are we on that, Dave? I haven't heard anything back.
So for the injection well, I mean, the case is in the courts. Both sides have filed their briefs with the Commonwealth Court, and we're waiting for a decision on their expansion of their existing use, their existing non-conforming use. So this council, has been opposed to their expansion there, and that's shown by our solicitor filing the appeal to the Commonwealth Court. So we're waiting for that ruling. I don't know when that'll come, but that's all I have on that.
Well, what about the transfer station? We had talks, I think it was Mr. Delaney's committee. We talked about it. I think Mr. Hadley and Mr. Delaney and I were there, if not others, but we were talking about the permit for the transfer station up there.
I'm unaware.
They were putting permits in for, they were ready to submit permits for the, it's like a holding facility for some of the, I don't know if it's the fracking water, because they found out now it can be reused, so they're not just injecting all of it immediately, but they have transfer station to accommodate this.
Perhaps I could comment, if you wouldn't mind, on that. What you're talking about is the expansion to 4A, to actually have another drilling site. And I had, a week ago, had an opportunity to tour the facility there. And actually, when I got the tour, I asked the gentleman about the 4A well. And he said, oh, well, when we put this facility in, we already plumbed for that. We have the pipeline running over to it. All they're waiting for is the permit so that they can do it. But they're already down the road on that.
Right, and there are zoning issues that surround that expansion.
Yes.
And that's what I referred to in that appeal to the Commonwealth Court.
That's part of the appeal then? That is part of the appeal?
Well, so the expansion of the non-conforming use is. Mm-hmm. So this transfer station issue is something new then?
Yeah, this is one that actually they have requested a permit. We have a copy of what Penteco submitted, and this is what we're responding to a week from tomorrow. And this waste transfer station enables them to bring waste from all over, to that facility, that same site, and store it and pump it in the ground. And it could increase the waste coming in like 2 or 3 times. And we're very concerned about that being stored there. And because there could be spillage, there could be leakage, and we're also very concerned about having that volume pumped into the ground.
Not to mention the truck traffic increase. We already, the residents around there are already crazy about all the trucks that are going up normally. if they're gonna increase that
Yes, it would,
capacity, they're
So
gonna need.
I'd be happy to talk to you offline after the meeting about the holding tank issue, but, to date, we know that, yes, they have tanks there, they hold the materials in the tanks until they pump it into the earth. But if there's a distinction that you'd like to talk about, I'm more than happy to talk to you after the
okay,
meeting.
I'll check, I'll come back
Thank you.
after. Thank you very much for your time, gentlemen.
Thanks, thanks.
Mr. President, one final thing, I want to expand on what Mr. Taylor, because I was told tonight, and I forgot to do that, is about coffee with the mayor and the manager. We've done several of these. One's been in the afternoon, one's been in the evening. This is on a Saturday, so there are no excuses if you're working that you can't make that coffee. It's an informal, no dress code required. It's informal. Have a cup of coffee. We'll listen to your concerns, address your questions. If you got suggestions, we want those too. And I understand there'll be donuts, but you better get here fast because the police will find out. Thank you.
You gotta let that go.
No, I can't.
It's getting old, it's getting old there. All right, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Dern, or seconded by Mr. Hadley, all in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.